Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates.
Welcome back to Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates. I'm your host, Mike Iglinski. We're back with David Beek. He's a candidate for U.S. Senate for the American Independent Party. Before we went to commercial, we were actually discussing false flag terrorism, and in fact, some of the examples you brought up in the past, or so that you had brought up in the past things that we can currently look at, relating all the way up to Eric Holder and today some of the controversies that we're seeing with the DOJ. Another thing I think was kind of interesting in looking through some of your talking points is you had mentioned some of these new body scanners that TSA is currently using in our airports.
Yeah, I mean, this is a classic example of an unreasonable search and seizure. So, you know, I would make the argument that a natural human right, one is to travel and to not be stopped, seized, or searched without a warrant based on reasonable suspicion. In other words, whenever anybody searches you, according to the Constitution, they have to have a warrant signed by a judge and that stipulates the places to be searched and what's to be searched for. Mm-hmm. The TSA is what came out of, after the 9/11 terrorist attacks that our government perpetrated, the government was able to push through a number of agendas. One is the International Global Warfare, which they continue to this day, the Department of Homeland Security, the TSA, the Patriot Act. So these, all these things came after 9/11. The TSA is essentially body scanning.
Just to be clear, you're stating that it's your belief that a false flag example of terrorism was 9/11, so we could perpetuate all of those aforementioned mechanisms to invade people's privacy?
Yeah, so if you have a terrorist attack, then you look at how it's used and who's actually benefiting from it. And that's where I would say the TSA comes out of that. Now the TSA, to go back to that, those scanners are giving people cancer. So they started using those at Boston Logan after 9/11, and those workers there already have cancer from just being around them. Not being scanned personally, but just being around them every day.
You're talking about these body scanners where you can see through clothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's powerful radiation. So I mean, it's just one more. It's unhealthy. Mm-hmm. If children are being put through it, it's creating child pornography because the images are being saved and looked at. You have, for example, perverts gravitating. A defrocked priest is one of the heads, and I think it's Philadelphia, the TSA. So they gravitate to those jobs, power-hungry people that are not healthy, and they're not doing the background checks on these people. And so they go and they'll have the same woman go through 2 or 3, 4 times because they're getting they can get a full color digital image of the body without clothes on. So it's immoral. And then the other thing is it is unconstitutional. You shouldn't be searching anybody. And an engineer showed that they're not effective because the background is black. He could hide something metal on his side and it wouldn't pick up that item.
Would you think that even a metal detector would impede upon people's private or personal space in the same manner?
You know, I would go back to I guess, you know, if you look at it differently, okay, let's say that you are making a business negotiation with the airline to transport you. The airline has the responsibility to provide security, not the government. Mm-hmm. And so right now, all the airlines are forced to use the same security procedure. If there was actual free market in transportation in the airlines, then you would be able to decide what level of security you're willing to tolerate.
But wouldn't you have to agree, though, for the common good of the person traveling in the airport, because of the proximity to airplanes and sensitive areas, that in fact you do need a uniform standard of security, that you couldn't rely on private entities to, say for instance, you own a cut rate airline, and you said, well, we can't afford security, this way we can cut our ticket rates by 25%.
Okay, then I, as a consumer, would go into that knowing that I'm putting myself in more danger.
Well, that you would have no choice whether to...
Not in a free market. In a free market, I could say, well, this airline A it uses the body scanners. Airline B uses the metal detectors. Airline C uses none of the above. Well, I'm not going to go through the body scanner. I definitely don't want to be on a plane where somebody might be able to get a gun on that easy, so I'll stay with the metal detectors. That's what a free market would accomplish.
Right, but again, you still have common areas, for instance, in airports that, security scans aren't done as you walk onto the airplane. They're done before you get to your gates.
Hey, and I'm okay with the body scan.
If the body scanners go too far.
The metal detectors don't bother me.
Right.
That seems pretty reasonable, except I'm not really big on disrobing. I don't know that people need to be disrobing. I don't know that it's a sanitary thing. There's other concerns here. I mean, if all those people have going through with bare feet or feet, it's not sanitary. And I don't think that the shoe bomber was, I think that was a fake. The underwear bomber is why we got these TSA scanning machines. And that was a false flag because the State Department helped him get on the plane. And Kurt Haskell's the attorney that watched the whole thing, and he stuck by his story, that they helped the guy get on the plane. They knew who he was. He wasn't supposed to get on the plane. So now Chertoff makes millions of dollars when he's with DHS. He gets all these contracts in place for the body scanners, and then magically we all have to have scanners in the airports.
We're running out of time, and what I want to do, because I know that your candidacy is based upon the fact that you want people to know their personal freedoms are being impeded and that they need to find more information. Take your platform. How can someone learn more about some of these issues that you've raised?
Well, if you just go to Google and you put in my name, David Lory Vanderbeek, you'll pull up my YouTube channel. It has links to the party website. You can get in contact with me. There's lots of great resources on the internet if they just start studying the Constitution. I don't think we have a public that really has engaged that yet, just for themselves. I don't really care how people go about it, but there's lots of information out there. They probably haven't even read the Constitution.
Mr. Vanderbeek, I appreciate you being on tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I really appreciate you having me.
Thanks again for being on, and we'll talk to you soon. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Court Reporter with Stovall Associates.